And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower. Today we're talking about Trollfjord. Now I was very excited about Trollfjord because it comes with a tower and it comes with a hammer. And it has a push your luck mechanism to it, which seems like it was tailor-made for Tom Vasel to enjoy, I feel. In this game, this tower is going to be full of cubes, and you're going to be hitting it with this hammer to knock the cubes off. Does that sound ridiculous? Yeah, it does. But ridiculousness never stops me from trying out a game. I wouldn't play half the games I play if that stopped me. Trollfjord, you are like trying not to anger the gods by mining stuff. There's some sort of theme there. Here's how it plays. The goal of this game is to get the most points, and each player is going to have their own bag here. We're going to be scoring their points. You even have these tiles here. You start the game with 28 points, but sometimes you'll want to appease the troll god, so you'll flip these over to stay away from his wrath. And you'll be taking point tokens that you'll be scoring throughout the game and placing them on here, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. Now each person has a troll lord here, and on your turn, whoever's the farthest one back, well, that's whose turn it is. So you could have multiple turns in a row. When you move, you're going to move on the track here of the different terrains on the board, or you're going to move on this foot track. You can move on either one, and you can go 3 spaces. And you count unoccupied spaces. So let's say the white piece is there, and it's now the black piece turn. He can go 1, 2, 3 if they want to. If you move on a terrain spot, you can put out that many of your colored trolls in one spot of that terrain, and the number you can put out is equal to up to the number of spaces you move. So you're going to put out 1, 2, or 3. In this case, he moved 3, so you put 3 in, let's say, this mountain region here. There's another mountain region here. Then the orange one might go 1, 2, and just move 2, and they're going to put 2 orange ones up here. However, since there's someone in front of them, whenever they basically get to go and put out one more piece in that region, so maybe the black one puts one up here. So if you move slowly, you get to take multiple turns, but you'll help the people ahead of you. Maybe the brown one goes 1, 2, 3, and then the brown one's going to place 3 into the green region. Once everyone's off this track over here, it flips over. We'll be using that to count hammer blows in a bit. So players can be taking turns moving around the board. If you move on the footprints, you can move people from one region to an adjacent region. So there's ways to scatter them about. Now what you're trying to do is you're trying to score these regions. So let's say, for example, that brown gets a few more people here, and we'll have some people like this on the board here. Now brown decides that they are going to, after they've taken a turn, they're going to attempt to call upon the troll lord here. And they have to do a number 1. Each player has to do number 1 until they fill that spot in their bag. Then they can go to number 1, the 2s and the 3s. But number 1 is the 3 regions around there. So first of all, the person doing it has to have guys in 2 of the regions next to the spot. So they do. The brown person has 3 people here. They have 2 people here. At this point, they're going to knock on it. One person can help them, but it can only be someone who also has people in 2 of the regions next to this spot. So the tan player can't do anything because they're only in one region next to it. Black and orange both are there, and they could both join in. If they both want to, whoever has more gets to do it. However, they both have the same, so whoever's farther back on the track. So orange can help too. So we're going to count up the number of people who are that are working here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 hits on the tower. Now the tower was seated at the beginning of the game with cubes, and when you're done, you will seat it. And what you're going to do is you're going to hold the tower like this, and you get 8 hits, which will be tracked here, or fewer, depending on how many people you have there. And you're trying to knock something out. Well, there I knocked nothing out. There I knocked out a bunch of cubes. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to knock out enough cubes to get here. Now, if you hit it and nothing comes out, then the person helping you can take over. But each time it's hit, you're going to be counting the number of hits here, and you're also trying to be careful because if the number of any one color, except white, because white's great, so there's already 5 reds, and we get to hit this thing 7 times, but if there's more than 7 reds, then we've angered the troll god, and we are in humongous trouble. Basically, no one gets anything. At this point, I'll count up the cubes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, there's an 11 token here in one of the spots next to this one. There's also a 12 and a 27. Maybe I'll hit it one more time. Oh, nothing. All right, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cubes have come out of the tower. So as the person here who hit last, I'll take this 12 because that's less than 13, and I will place it on my bag in the number 1 spot. If it was not my turn, if someone else's turn, and they were the ones doing it, I put it in here because I can have as many as I want in this spot here. And then the other person could take 11. No one can take the 27 because 27 cubes didn't come out. After this is over, we will put these here. Some of the trolls come back to the players. The cubes all go back in the tower. And whoever has the biggest number 1 at this point also gets a crown here, which is worth 6 points, although that will pass to somebody else if they get a bigger number 1. And if you do finish your number 1, now you can start number 2s and number 3s. Once you're at number 3s, you can do any of them to get the plus. Once someone gets all 4 of them, the game will end. And you'll just add up all these put together, plus these if you haven't turned these over. Remember, you can turn these over. If you've angered the troll lord, you can turn one of these over to basically increase your limit of that many cubes that you can have. That's basically it. When it comes to components, we want to know about 2 things, the tower and the hammer. Now, the tower and the hammer are interesting because it's basically a cube tower where cubes are going to be knocked out of it. And when you drop them in, they don't normally fall out. But you got to figure out how to hit this thing. You definitely have to hold it or they're not going to come out. And it takes some hits to come out. But the back of mine, it's hard to see here, is already, or if you hit it on the side, wherever you're hitting it, it's already dinged up pretty strongly because this thing is really easy. I don't know. It takes some getting used to knock this thing off. And if you want to see how badly we are at it, we did do a version of this live, although I've gotten better at it since then. It's still neat to see this tower and this hammer, but everything else about this, these pieces, the cubes, they're okay. The board looks nice and all that. These pieces here go on the outside, making a random setup that doesn't really need to be random. I haven't played a game like, oh, that's interesting. There's 2 of the snow ones next to each other. Pfft, that's not a big deal. These 3D tokens, which are in each of the spots, that's okay. Again, this stuff's okay. The best parts are the bags with the tokens that fit in them here like this. I like that a lot. So component-wise, this is Zoc. Zoc usually makes really nice stuff. It works. It just doesn't, it's not as flashy, I think, as it could have been. Now, my first reactions to Trollfjord were a little meh. Because, I don't know, well, actually, I do know why. One of them is this rule book here. So the rules here, I believe there are like 10 pages of rules, maybe 12 pages of rules. There is a lot of rules, and they're big and long and fairly complex feeling for what is really a simple game. Also, at the beginning, they tell you how to hit the tower, something they don't mention the rest of the time. So if you jump over that and go here, you'll miss it. You're supposed to hit it on the side, not the back like I just did. You're supposed to hit it on the side. But hitting it on the back seems to work better. But anyhow, this game just seems like it has one too many rules. You got to have trolls in 2 spots next to the spot, and then when it's over, you pull out 1 group of trolls. If you move and you don't move far enough, people in front of you also get to put things out. And I don't know. It just seems... I like the concept a lot, and it's fun to do. But it also feels like you do the same thing a few too many times in this game. All right, so the idea of hitting a tower and making cubes come out is an entertaining one. And I think an entertaining game could be based about it. And you know what? Trollfjord, for a while, is entertaining. But I think it outstays its welcome. I think the rule book, they went way too far with over-explaining the game in a sense to where they make it seem like it's a much more complex game than it is. It is slightly more complex. The game is really boiled down to knock the thing and hope cubes of your color come out. There's really no strategy to that. You could just roll a die, roll some dice and add some cubes, of the colors you roll and hope you don't roll over the number. Do you know what I mean? It's not that the cube tower and hammer could have been replaced by some other randomization method, pulling stuff from a bag or whatever. So it's put in the game to be fun. Hey, I get to hit this with a hammer. And I get that. I mean, I really get that. That's what brought me to the game. But when you take that out, there's not much game left. There's a huge variety of points. There's a 23 to a 12, a 28, and a 15. And all these big point numbers, which, by the way, I get why they're so big because you need that many cubes at a tower to fall. It just feels like the whole game itself is going to be an amusing one. And I bet you in 10 years, and you know, come back in time and check this out, in 10 years, I'll talk about this as that weird game from 2018 that we played and everyone enjoyed, but isn't going to become one that a lot of people are going to talk about. Guaranteed. I think it already is. It's amusing. You walk by, when I was at SNA, this huge tower with a huge hammer, and that was fun and entertaining, but the gameplay itself just feels a bit samey after a while. I don't think it's a bad game. I think there's some interesting ideas in it. I just think there might have been one too many ideas, and yet at the same time, the game itself is essentially Maxwell's Silver Hammer type thing. I don't know. Trollfjord. Great concept, fun for a while, but then the game continues. Dice Tower Judgment, it's fun for a while.